Why 99% of people stay broke in 2026? Have you ever noticed something strange? Two people can earn the same salary, work the same number of hours, live in the same city. And yet, 10 years later, one of them is financially free while the other is still struggling from paycheck to paycheck. Why? Most people think the answer is income. If I earned more money, all my problems would disappear. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Millions of people earning good salaries are still broke. And millions of people with average incomes quietly build wealth every year. So if income isn't the real reason, what is? Today, we're going to explore why 99% of people stay broke in 2026 and the surprising psychological trap that keeps them stuck. And once you see it, you'll start noticing it everywhere. Because the biggest obstacle to wealth isn't a lack of money. It's how people think about money. Let's begin. Imagine two friends, Rahul and Arjun. Both are 25 years old. Both get their first job. Both earn exactly the same salary. At first, their financial lives look identical. But after receiving his first paycheck, Rahul decides to celebrate. He buys a new phone, orders food more often, upgrades his clothes, takes a small loan for a bike. Nothing extreme. Just normal things that most people do. Arjun does something different. He enjoys his money too. But before spending anything, he automatically sets aside a small amount for investing. Not because he's rich. Not because he's a financial expert. Simply because he understands one thing. Money grows when it gets time. Fast forward 10 years. Rahul is earning much more than before. But somehow, he still feels broke. Every salary increase disappeared into a bigger lifestyle. A bigger apartment. A better car. More subscriptions. More expenses. More monthly payments. Arjun is also earning more. But his investments have been quietly working in the background for years. Now here's the interesting part. The difference wasn't income. The difference was behavior. And that's exactly where most people get trapped. There's a psychological phenomenon called lifestyle inflation. It works like this. Every time your income increases, your spending increases too. You get a raise. You upgrade your lifestyle. You get a bonus. You reward yourself. You earn more. You spend more. And before you realize it, you're making twice as much money but feeling exactly as broke. Think about it. Have you ever looked at your bank account and wondered, where did all my money go? That's lifestyle inflation at work. The problem is that humans adapt incredibly fast. The phone you desperately wanted last month becomes normal after a few weeks. The car that felt luxurious becomes ordinary. The bigger house becomes your new standard. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill. Imagine running on a treadmill. You're moving constantly, using energy, working hard. But you're not actually getting anywhere. That's how many people live financially. Working harder, earning more, spending more, and staying in exactly the same place. Now let's talk about another reason people stay broke. Most people are trained to think like consumers, not owners. From childhood, we're surrounded by messages telling us what to buy. New shoes. New gadgets. New cars. New trends. Everywhere you look, someone is trying to sell you something. But very few people are taught how money actually works. Here's a simple question. What's the difference between a consumer and an owner? A consumer spends money. An owner owns things that generate money. A consumer buys products. An owner owns businesses, investments, or assets. One side pays. The other side gets paid. And this small shift in thinking changes everything. Imagine a fruit tree. Most people focus on collecting fruit. But wealthy people focus on owning the tree. The fruit represents income. The tree represents assets. If you only collect fruit, you must keep working forever. But if you own enough trees, they continue producing fruit year after year. This is why wealthy people often prioritize buying assets. Not because they avoid spending, but because they understand the order. Assets first. Luxury later. Most people do the opposite. Luxury first. Assets later. And later often never comes. But there's another trap that's even more dangerous. The trap of looking rich. In 2026, social media has made this problem bigger than ever. Every day, people see luxury cars, luxury vacations, designer clothes, expensive lifestyles. And without realizing it, they start comparing their lives to carefully edited highlights from strangers. The result? People spend money they don't have to impress people they don't know. And here's the irony. The people who look rich are often deeply in debt, while the people quietly building wealth may appear completely ordinary. Real wealth is often invisible. Think about it. If someone owns a luxury car worth $100,000, you can see it. But if someone owns $100,000 worth of investments, you can't. One is visible. One is hidden. And because humans naturally notice visible things, many people chase appearances instead of financial security. Now let's talk about the biggest misunderstanding about wealth. Most people think wealth comes from making the right financial decisions once. But wealth is actually the result of making small decisions repeatedly. Imagine two people. One saves and invests just a little every month. The other says, "I'll start later." The first person doesn't seem impressive. The second person doesn't seem irresponsible. But years pass. And suddenly the gap becomes enormous. Why? Because of compounding. Compounding is one of the most powerful forces in finance. Think of it like planting a seed. On day 1, nothing seems to happen. On day 10, not much changes. Even after months, growth can appear slow. But eventually, the tree becomes larger and larger. Money behaves the same way. At first, progress feels invisible. Then one day, the results become impossible to ignore. Unfortunately, most people quit before they reach that point. They want immediate results. Immediate rewards. Immediate gratification. And that's where psychology works against them. Humans naturally prefer rewards now rather than rewards later. If I offer you a small reward today or a bigger reward next year, many people choose today. This tendency affects almost every financial decision. Buying instead of investing. Spending instead of saving. Consumption instead of ownership. The challenge isn't intelligence. It's patience. And patience has become increasingly rare. Everything today is instant. Instant entertainment. Instant shopping. Instant delivery. Instant gratification. But wealth creation is still slow. And because it feels slow, many people abandon the process. Now here's the deeper lesson. The reason most people stay broke isn't because they're lazy. It isn't because they're unlucky. And it isn't because they're incapable. It's because they unknowingly follow a financial script that society constantly reinforces. Work. Spend. Upgrade. Repeat. Work. Spend. Upgrade. Repeat. Year after year. Without ever building assets. Without ever creating ownership. Without ever allowing money to work for them. The wealthy often follow a different script. Work. Save. Invest. Own. Repeat. At first, the difference seems tiny. But over time, the outcomes become dramatically different. And this leads us to the most important idea in this entire video. Financial success is less about how much money you earn, and more about the gap between what you earn and what you keep. Because money only has two possible destinations. It can either work for you or disappear from your life. Every dollar is making that decision, whether you consciously choose it or not. So what should you do differently? First, stop measuring success by what you can buy. Start measuring success by what you own. Second, avoid lifestyle inflation whenever your income increases. When you earn more, don't immediately spend more. Increase your investments first. Third, focus on long-term thinking. Most financial success comes from consistency, not perfection. And finally, remember this. Wealth isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's built through hundreds of small decisions nobody sees. The extra money you invest. The unnecessary purchase you skip. The habit you repeat. The patience you maintain. These actions may feel insignificant today, but they shape your future more than you realize. So the next time you wonder why so many people stay broke, don't look at their salary. Look at their habits. Because wealth is rarely a money problem. It's usually a behavior problem. And the good news is that behaviors can change. The moment you stop chasing the appearance of wealth and start building actual wealth, everything begins to move in a different direction. Maybe not overnight. Maybe not next week. But eventually. And that's how the 1% separate themselves from the other 99%. Not through luck. Not through secret tricks. But through understanding a simple truth. Money follows behavior. And behavior shapes your future. The question is, what financial behaviors are you repeating today that your future self will be living with tomorrow?